All right, how to beat shyness. Now, shyness, introvertedness. I can speak a lot on this topic because I was really shy, really introverted, very reserved when I was younger, and it was always something that I wanted to be better at. You want to have a voice, you know, and just in social settings, you want to be able to interact with people and socialize. And as a man, it is of utmost importance, and I can't stress it enough. You need to be extroverted. You don't have to be all, loud and out and about and outgoing all the time, but you need that skill of being able to talk to anyone, to be able to actually conversate and to actually develop your skills, your people skills. It is of utmost importance as a man, because you need to get out in the world and you need to follow your purpose and achieve what you set out to achieve. How are you going to achieve that sitting in your room all day, not even be able to talk to a stranger, right? So if you have difficulty being shy, you're not very outspoken, you're not very loud, you're not very assertive, you can't talk to anybody, you're always anxious, you're nervous. I've experienced all of these emotions and situations, and I've managed to develop skills, practice and experience more and more over time and got better. In the past videos, I've mentioned briefly on how to improve public speaking. So there's a few videos of that. If you want to, it's a bit more focused in on public speaking, you check those out. But for shyness and introvertedness, how I improved it is you just got to practice. That's one part of it. You must practice actually talking to people. I was lucky I had a bit of a blueprint, because when I was younger and I was with my dad, he would strike up conversations with strangers. Let's say we're at the shops and we're in a line and there's someone in front of him or whatever. You know how men are. They just strike up conversations, complete strangers, and they have some small talk. In our heads, we're like, oh, such a drag, I can't be bothered, blah, 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 blah. It's very important. You have to understand that talking to people, there might be some information that is valuable. We all have knowledge, we all have wisdom of certain topics, we all have our own hobbies and interests. There's something to learn from anybody, right? You just have to conversate and be friendly enough and ask good questions to be able to bring out the good in people in conversation. It's such an important skill to get a little bit of good ideas, to expand your mind a little bit. You can read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. His name is escaping me. But that had a lot of good, cool concepts. It just expands your mind a bit and makes you a bit aware on how some certain things, certain concepts, how certain concepts, and so some other things that helped me get out of my shyness, I've already mentioned practicing just talking to strangers. Like I would go out on the street or whoever it is, whether whoever you're interacting with day to day. That's why you need to get out. If you work, then boom, it's like really easy, because you should be interacting with people. At least for me, I used to work in a warehouse. I was a forklift operator, did some deliveries, some sales. I was working in a warehouse. I was interacting with people every single day. You can practice, talking to people, small talk, all that sort of thing. Talked about the like a positive role model of talking to people, talking to strangers. It's not that scary, from my dad, just observing him, because he would just strike up conversations with anyone, and I just thought it was really cool. Like, wow, you just can just talk to anybody and it's not that scary. Like, you just keep it very, 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 very simple. You know what I mean? Just very brain dead basic stuff. You don't have to overthink it. It's just really plain and simple stuff. I'll give you an example of some topics that I've talked about when I just strike up conversations with people. One time I was outside and I was grabbing lunch, and then there was this there was this chick next to me, and we're waiting at the lights, waiting for the crossing to go green so we can cross. And I'm like, oh, like how, something about the weather. Like, oh, it feels so good just standing in the sun, because when it's chilly and then you're standing in the sun, it just warms you up. So I felt that at the time, and then I just said what I felt in that moment. That thought that popped into my head, I just said it to her, and she agreed. Yeah, it's nice. You know what I mean? And then she said, "Have a nice day," and then we just, I went on with my day. You don't have to expect anything. You have to be comfortable with just being present and just chilling out. You know what I mean? Because obviously, if you're anxious, people can feel that. And if you're a man, like, women will pick up on that straight away. Like, women are not attracted. That's why it's such an important skill. You need to have that, just that confidence in just, you don't have to say anything. You know what I mean? Like, if the conversation runs dry and there's awkward silence, like, I don't give a flying crap about awkward silence. I'll just sit there, you know what I mean? Like, because if you're just comfortable in the silence, you're confident in the silence, then it's not awkward. You know what I mean? It's just how it works, Another point is your presentation. If your voice is not confident, if you look at a bit disheveled, you know what I mean? Like, of course, it's not going to be a good impression, But if you look appealing, like, look nice, reach your potential and look the best you possibly can. Obviously we're all going to have different experiences and we all have different looks, and not everyone is like a 6'5" model, right? So we can only work with what we've got and reach our potential. That's all we can do, and that's all we should do. Reach our potential, level up, gain experience. It's like a video game, you know what I mean? You can look at it like that if you like, leveling up your speech skill, leveling up your skills. But just, if you combine all these, practice, where to practice, what to say, your presentation, if you're stuttering and speaking very fast, that raises people's awkwardness and anxiety. So it's just practicing, and we all start from different levels, because it's definitely, we're not all equal. We're gonna have different levels of where we're at, and you might be, you might have had some experiences, so you can see where I'm going with this, or you haven't had much at all, and you just never interacted with people like that. You never got yourself out there. It might have to start with you into developing yourself, and then slowly, these things take time, years. I did mention in the public speaking videos how I improved my public speaking. Again, just practice. Every time I had to do a speech or a presentation, you just get better and better. I just focused on, okay, I got to get better. I got to be more confident. I got to speak with a bit more confidence, with a bit more clarity. Be aware of how you sound, how you speak. It's something that you develop, and you're always developing it. Like, I'm always trying to get better. And, I just realized now that I might have been speaking fast. So let me just speak a little bit slowly. I'll look at you, speak a bit more, less rushed, Let me speak a bit more. Well, now I don't even know what to say. And and even if you do something awkward, if you just laugh, I mean, is it awkward? Like, I don't really care. Like, I know I'm trying to get better, and I've come a long way, being shy and being an introvert as a man is very bad. You need to get yourself out there. You need to attack the world. You need to go with your purpose, and you need to interact with other people. Otherwise, you're gonna suffer. Your potential is gonna suffer. For women, I can't really speak for you guys because I'm not a woman. It doesn't. I don't think it matters as much. You should definitely, women should definitely be social, because women are social creatures. You guys love talking about people and being around people. It's very important. But in terms of like you guys trying to attract men, if you're trying to find a nice man or a husband, being shy like kind of works in your favor a little bit. Like guys aren't really attracted to some loud, extroverted type of girl, because that's kind of seen as more masculine. So like being shy and reserved, at least towards men, is actually a green flag. But you must be social with other women, otherwise that's a red flag. If you know what I mean, like, oh, my only friends are guy friends, you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. But yeah, we shy with shyness. It's, if you're young, don't worry about it. Like you just focus. Now that I've said it, now that it's in your mind, you can think about it, and you, when the opportunity arises, you can try and practice, get some experience. You can just think about it for a second. You know what I mean? Just think about, okay, let me just lock in. Don't say anything stupid. Just say, how was your day? How's it going? What you up to? You know, I wouldn't do what I do and just like talk to girls or anything like that, like strangers, because depending on, you know how it is, like if she doesn't find you attractive, you know, GG, like good luck with that. She's gonna, it's gonna be rough, you know. Yeah. If you're a guy, talk to other guys. That's probably my best advice. Practice on other dudes, talking to other dudes, striking up conversations, friends, family, and the people that, like, you know, you serve you your food. Waiter, checkout person, guy at the servo, guy at the groceries, at the grocery mart, guy standing in line. Like if you're at a food establishment, you know, you can just ask like, hey, like, oh, what are you getting? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to talk about just guy stuff with guys because we're just really easy. You just talk about random things that are in, that make sense in the current situation. You know, you don't want to talk about something niche. You don't want to talk about some niche thing that you like. You know what I mean? It's got to be vague and universal enough where, like, you know, every guy is going to be able to add on to the topic or talk about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if it's like topic specific, like, you know, you're at a pizza place, like, and you talk about pizzas, well, like, obviously, like, how nothing awkward's going to come from that, you know? So you got to keep it simple, basic. You know, they have to actually add on to it. If you randomly just bring in like politics, like religion, you know, it's way too puts pressure on them. You know what I mean? Like it's not topics that you bring up when you first small talking with somebody. So I mentioned a lot of vague concepts and things that have helped me in the previous video, but for this one, I'm gonna narrow in a little bit on the actual talking aspect of actually communicating and having a conversation with somebody. So when you're talking to somebody, I mentioned vaguely in the previous video that you want to keep the topics very, very relatable, very, very simple. And obviously you go back and forth and you kind of want it as like a 50-50. Like you talk about something, you ask them something, they talk a bit, you add on to what they're saying. You know what I mean? So for example, oh no, it's kind of hard to think of an example off the rip. I should have prepared for this, but I've been trying to improve on my improv skills, just my ability to talk off rip with no script. That's like 99% of the videos on the channel, but I have been able to get a little bit better, and sometimes you get into like a bit of a flow state and you're just able to speak on the topic and things just flow naturally. Your conversation like won't, if you're very new to it, like it won't be like that initially. Like it's a skill that you have to develop and get better at, and sometimes if you're nervous and awkward, it's going to translate into the conversation. So it takes some work to actually come at the conversation with just calm, content, and not having any expectations. But if you ask something more specific to like the situation around you, it's very easy for people to latch onto that. Like the example I gave in the last video is like, if you're in a pizza place or whatever environment and you make a comment about it, it's very easy to strike up conversations like that, because you can't go wrong. Like, you know, like, oh, what pizza are you getting, or what's your favorite pizza, and you're in a pizza place. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like, it can't fail, you know, if all the other things are correct and your delivery is like normal, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna answer. It's very easy to answer. So that is a lot better when you say something about what's happening in your environment. Like the example I gave last time when I talked to somebody on the street was something about the weather. It's something super simple that anyone can actually latch on and talk about on. Like, no one's, you know, there's no point talking about some weird niche topic that no one's gonna know. Like some random thing only you know, and you're gonna bring it up. And that's awkward as hell. Like, you just randomly bring up some revolution in 1830s or something. Like, no one's gonna understand that. Like, you got to get the autism questions out of the way. You can't overthink it. You have to underthink. You got to like say some really simple stuff. And you might be like, oh, like small talk is so boring or whatever. You have to have a bit more curiosity and understand that there might be some information or a different perspective you can get from somebody. Maybe not every single person. There's a lot of NPCs nowadays, and all our personalities are just some basic like Netflix, and you know what I mean? Like, that's all that's all some people are composed of nowadays. It's just the times we live in currently. But there might be some interesting people, you know. You don't know until you actually develop the skills to be able to talk to anybody and be able to bring out conversations and bring out a person's what they know about certain topics, bring that out of them and asking the right questions and setting up the conversation in a way where it's just chill, you know what I mean? Just having a conversation, no expectations, you know what I mean? So yeah, it made me remember, just talking now, it kind of made me remember that being super personal is weird, like asking super personal questions. Like, if a guy or girl asks me, you know, what I've been up to, I would keep it very vague, like, oh, I've just been chilling, working. You know what I mean? It's like it's a decent conversation starter, but it's like it puts a little bit of pressure, because like you might not know the person, like you're two strangers, and now I gotta kind of feel a little bit pressured, like, you know, I don't want to tell this random guy exactly what I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like, but typically you just like, oh, just working, you know, whatever, right? But that's kind of boring. Like, talking about work is a little boring sometimes. You can't avoid it. Like, you have to, I guess, know. There's like some small like details about the person that you just have to get out of the way, like your name and where you work, you know what I mean? Like what you do for a living. You know, you should just ask more direct question later, like, oh, like, what do you do for a living? Is just like a bit, you know, a bit later on in the conversation, rather than just like, oh, what have you been up to? I don't actually like that question anymore. I don't know, let me know what you think. Like, if I asked you what you were up to, like, that would be kind of awkward. Like, you know, it's a bit too personal. Like, I wouldn't wanna, yeah, I don't know, I'm just thinking about it now. But as long as the conversation, you know, both people are talking for like similar amount of time, like it's not one-sided, that's, you know, you want to aim for that. You know what I mean? Like a good back and forth. Because it's really annoying when you have to carry a conversation, or they just talk, you know, non-stop. Like, it's you know, sometimes it's a bit hard to conversate, because our social skills and our ability to conversate effectively, the skills is kind of low and the bar is kind of low, which is even more incentive to get good at this skill, because you're going to stand out. And people love to talk about themselves and talk about them. So like if you just ask them questions about themselves and indulge them, you can only win. You know what I mean? And I think that you got to just get over the fact that, yeah, not every single conversation on earth that you can have is going to be the most exciting thing ever. Like, you really have to have that curiosity and optimism that you could learn something. You know what I mean? Because everyone's got their own experiences, perspectives, and they're going to have something that they know that could benefit you. It's just about conversating in a way that brings the best out of the conversation. And as I said before, as a man, it is of utmost importance to develop this skill to be able to talk to anybody. Because to reach your potential and to achieve your purpose in life, you have to interact with people at one stage. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be in your room forever. You have to get out in the world and actually tackle on life. Another great way to actually get out of your shell, be less shy and introverted, is to actually, like I said, go out into the world and have some experiences and some stories to share. You know, some funny moments or something relatable to share. That is also really good. You know, if you're a man and you have barely left your room your entire life, I mean, is there anything really interesting to talk about? I mean, yeah, and listen attentively to what they're talking about and add on to it, ask questions, clarify if you don't really understand something. You know, this and this and this, is that what you meant by when you said this, or can you please elaborate on that? I'm not really sure I understand. Like, you know, ask those questions that allow them to actually elaborate more. You know, those are great. You know, if you indulge somebody else, they're gonna appreciate it. And if you listen attentively and you don't cut them off, you know, and keep that flow happening and try and keep it balanced, I mean, all you need to do then is just to practice and get out in the world and have this in mind, and stay away from inflammatory topics or weird niche autism topics. You know what I mean? Unless you're in the environment where that, you know the person is obviously in the same hobby or something like that. Like, when it's your interests, and, you know, it's very easy to talk about stuff when you guys share the same interests, obviously. But I guess in a more advanced situation where it's like strangers or people that you don't know, like you're at a gathering or whatever, you don't know who they are, you have to figure it out, right? Like, what their interests are. You know, slowly with the small talk, you know what I mean? Getting over that feeling of being shy and introverted, that anxiety feeling that you have, that fear that you have, you have to understand that as a man, it is of utmost importance that you develop this skill, because you have to get out into the world and you have to chase your purpose in life. And at one point in your life or another, you know, sooner or later, you're gonna have to interact with the world. And in order to grow, progress, and experience life to its fullest, you need to experience the world and actually get out there and talk to people, interact with people. We are social beings, and being alone is just weird. Like, that's just not natural at all. And the fact that we've become so digital and all the social media and stuff has made us more lonelier than ever, right? And so interacting with people is truly a blessing. And when you have a nice interaction, I've never felt better when I have like a good conversation, and there's only positivity that's come from it, you know. When you know, you're not expecting anything from anybody, you're just having a small slight interaction, whether it's like with a stranger or you're at a gathering and you're small talking. You know, there's no expectations. You just have a chat about very, very simple topics, basic topics that are relatable. You know, nothing niche, nothing weird, autist, random things about some history point in time. Oh, did you know, what about that thing and happened that in 1583 and with the Great Revolution of what's his face or whatever. Like that's way too specific. No one's gonna be able to add on to that, and you just look like a freak. You know what I mean? Unless you're talking to somebody who's in that environment, you know what I mean, that is already interested in that hobby. Otherwise, what the hell, man? You know, Get that with nah, I've got nothing against that stuff. History is really cool. There's a lot of topics that are really cool. There's a lot of hobbies and people that have interesting stories, experiences, and perspectives. It's about starting off really basic, warming up, and getting that small talk out of the way where you know some basic details about the person where you can progress through the conversation. Of course, small talk is boring, but you have to get out of that idea and actually be more curious and understand that there's something that you could learn from everybody. It's just about getting that conversation going, steering it in the right direction, and getting the most out of it by asking the right questions, keeping that nice balance. You don't want to be talking over them. They don't want to be talking over you. If you are conversating with someone who's just absolutely just terrible at it, and it's just so hard to conversate, it's just too much, you can always say, well, I'll leave you to it, see you around. You know what I mean? Like, to exit the conversation. I think that's my go-to. Just, all right, I'll leave you to you. I'll leave it. I'll leave you to it, bro. Okay, not like that, but I'll leave you to it, man. Have a good one. I gotta run. You know what I mean? Like, perfect escape achieved. Perfect escape, 100% accuracy. Perfect escape, 100% success rate. Steal it from me, do it, use it. By getting over those anxieties, you got to get over it at one point or another, and just practicing talking to friends or family. It's just going to be a bit easier when you practice a bit more. And if you have good people around you and they at least freaking support you, it'd be a lot easier. But if you don't have that and you're completely in the dark, I believe in you and I know you can do it. Be aware of what you look like and how you sound, because to actually develop these skills and interact with people, you need to be presentable, and you need to be aware about how you come off and how you sound, how you look, because you want to reach your potential and be the best version of yourself, because our skills are very low nowadays, and the standards the bar is so low, let's be honest, and we all got to improve, but we got to look at ourselves and improve ourselves. There's no point worrying about what other people are doing. Let's improve our skills. Let's focus on ourselves and what we can do to be better. So have that mindset of improving, not stressing over and beating yourself up over the bad experiences, the awkward situations in your life. Just forget about it. Just boom, wipe your memory card or something. Do what you got to do. Or don't actually harm yourself. But I'm saying as a mental way to picture it, just that memory, that bad memory or whatever, that awkwardness that you just you just cringe. You're trying to get to sleep and you remember all the awkward stuff and awkward situations in your life. You just got to forget about it. Boom, gone. Like it never happened. And move forward with that, knowing that you're not that person anymore. That's what helps me. With the anxiety and stress, you're stressing over the fact of you're overthinking it, and you're stressing of all the ways that you can fail, all the dialogue options, you thinking about all the things that you can say and all the ways that you can mess up. You gotta just let it all go and think more in the present moment. You gotta think more in the present moment, be calm, slow down, don't overthink, just think really simple, dial it all the way back, talk about the weather, talk about pizza, talk about some really brain dead simple topics. If you're a guy, utmost importance, like I said, you need to learn these skills. Obviously I mentioned How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, I believe his name is. Read that book. It's gonna enlighten you a little bit, get you more aware of these concepts in a more business sense, if that's what you're interested in. Um, and yeah, also you can read a book, like read books, you know, read books out loud. You'll be able to practice speaking. Record yourself and speak. Record yourself and reading out loud. You can see how you sound. But anyways, that's about it for me. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for all the support, the likes and the comments and the love. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Just a quick tip on how to become less shy, more extroverted. It's kind of like a muscle. If you are trying to do chin-ups and you've never done them before, or you rarely do them, or you haven't done them in a long time, you're not going to be the best at it. You can only do a few. It's super rusty, like you're just not cranking them out like you used to. Or if you've never actually done chin-ups in your entire life, you might not even be able to do one. It's the same thing with being social. If you haven't worked out that social muscle, it's going to be a little bit stiff. You're not going to be able to flow as well, and you're not going to be able to, you don't have that social lubrication. You know, when you're actually like social with people, you get warmed up, and then it's like more second nature. You don't have to think about it as much. You know, the more you do it, the better you get. So it's about working that social muscle and just getting the reps in. That's the best way to actually get more experience and get better at it. Because, you know, if you haven't gone out in a long time, or you haven't been social for a long time, it's almost a little bit awkward. Like if you remember in 2020 with the pandemic stage the pandemic going on, that whole thing, people were a little bit more awkward, you know what I mean? Because of how we had to distance ourselves. It actually like affected people's social skills. You know, it was a little bit awkward, you know? Small talk and keeping it simple is the best. Avoiding inflammatory topics and weird random niche specifics, you know, that only you know about, is just, you know, don't even bother with that. So yeah, that's just like a quick little tip. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.